Hey everybody, it's Mike, and I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope it's not snowing where you're at, because it is here. So, and I also hope that none of you got hit by any of those tornadoes as severe weather this weekend. So, hopefully everybody's well and ready to get started this week. So, I've got a full calendar of stuff to talk about this morning, but we do have a question which is terrific from Michael, and he asks, during the group presentations, we talk about Social Security and SAIL, which is fine, but we don't even hint at any of the other 21 issues or so. Is there a reason we don't say a single word about the other things we do? Yes, there is. And that is, it's been proven both in advertising, in conversations, in presentations that you do for large groups, in conversations you have with your teenage son, that the more things you cover, the better off you are, you folks. Or the more things you cover, the more diluted everything you cover gets. So what do you think that is? The more things you cover, the more excited people get. So if you can say, I do these 15 things, do you think people get more excited when you say, I do these 15 things? Or do you think they get more excited when you say, I do this one thing? Which one, people? Yeah, it gets diluted if I say, we do these 15 different things. So in marketing, if you'll notice, the biggest... the last thing you want to do when you're marketing is to say, here's a laundry list of things that we do. And it's the same thing with presentations. You don't want to say, here's the 15 things you need to remember from this presentation. Instead you say, this is the one thing you need to remember from this presentation. So that's why we only have 2 things that we want them to make appointments for, because it's a lot easier to get them, because if we give them, the more things you give them, the more likely they are to freeze and do nothing. They get overwhelmed. So then the question is, well, then why do we cover 21 things at the disclosure meeting? Well, first of all, what are we trying to do at the disclosure meeting? Am I trying to say all of these things are wrong at the disclosure meeting? So, guys, tell me, what are we trying to do at the disclosure meeting? Anybody? Am I trying to get them to do 21 different things at the disclosure meeting? What am I trying to get them to do? What am I trying to have them understand, guys? Somebody. Has anybody typing stuff in this year, or should I just blurt it out?
No one is. Oh, there we go. Thoroughly bad.
Bad broker, Jim. You're exactly right. Bad broker. Realize how much? No, not how much they're missing. Lose confidence in their advisor. Exactly. So what we're trying to do is have them understand that their broker has character flaws. So we have 21 different issues. Now, rarely are you going to be able to use all 21, but it's about 18 on average that guys will be able to use. What we're doing there is not trying to say, hey, all these 18 different things are bad. No, what we're trying to do is have them realize that my advisor has character flaws. Do you think I could tell somebody, if that's the only thing we're trying to accomplish at the disclosure meeting, my advisor has character flaws? Because can they forgive a mistake if their advisor made a mistake or if they're missing something? Can they forgive that, guys? Yeah, but if he has character flaws, Mickey, can they forgive that? No, exactly, Mickey. So we're trying to prove that they have character flaws. So the reason we go over 21 or 18 different issues at the disclosure meeting has nothing to do with showing them all these things that are wrong. Has nothing to do with showing them, hey, this is wrong, and this is wrong, this wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has them come to the conclusion that their guy has character flaws. And we can't just do it by saying, hey, see this one thing that he did? He has a character flaw. Will it work if I just show him one thing, guys? See, right here, here's proof he has a character flaw. Will that, again, if I say, hey, he's trying to steal from you by charging you too many fees, if that's the only thing I showed him, what would their knee-jerk reaction be to do? Well, and I tried this, guys. Yeah, you're right, Mickey. You need to show multiple layers. Because I tried this by showing people right up front, look at all the fees this guy's charging you. And guess what they would say? They'd say, well, yeah, but I mean, everybody has to charge fees. I mean, there's nothing for free. So, yeah, he's charging fees, so does everybody else. So what'd they just do? If I just charged in with that, what'd they do? They defended him. They defended him. So I can't just charge in with that. So there's times when you want to be minimal. But I will go to this point. And, Jeff, how many times in the last 10 years have we had guys show us unbelievably good things that we could also present? So we have 21 issues that we can cover at the disclosure meeting. And in the last 10 years, Jeff, how many times have we had other guys show us really good things that we could also show at the disclosure meeting? And instead of 21 issues, we could show 28 or 32 or 44 issues.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that. We've had guys bring up different things that we could show all the time.
And they're good stuff, right?
Right.
But the thing is, guys, after 10 years, we've wheedled this down where the 21 or 18 issues is just enough, but not too much. Because if you go too far, then that also shuts them down and they do nothing. So, Michael, does that answer your question? Mike, please answer to make sure we answered your question.
He
Yes.
says yes.
Super. Excellent. Thank you.
And I do see, too, that Marion has his hand up, so I'm not sure if... Marion, I'm going to try to unmute your line there just to see if you can ask your question. If you have a question. Maybe he doesn't have a microphone. Okay. I guess we can move on and...
You can type it in if you need to. So, okay, so our pointer this week is this. Oops, maybe not. There we
Mike,
go.
would you like me to try to get an open line here as well for
Nope,
today?
I'm going to use Jeff today.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Making appointments stick. So I've had a call last week and a call the week before of a couple guys that had made a number of appointments, but that they had problems making them stick. So some guys have problems making appointments stick, and some guys have no problem. So these are the first two that I've heard. We've had a lot of other guys that have are having no problems with the appointments sticking. So, but sometimes a certain guy will have problems. Sometimes a certain event will have a problem. I don't know, it's some weird chemistry that was in the crowd or whatever. And sometimes certain demographic areas will have problems with that. So, unfortunately, fortunately for some and most, you'll never have a problem with the appointment sticking. But unfortunately, in some areas or guys or a particular event, you may have problems with appointment sticking. So there's nothing more frustrating is having, getting, having 42 people in a room, and let's say buying units, you have 23 buying units, and you schedule 15 appointments, and then having them drop off like flies after that. So the first thing that everybody should, whether you're having problems with appointments dropping off or not, when do you think you should be scheduling the appointments, guys? Let's say the event's on Tuesday. When should you be scheduling the appointments? Let's see. Wednesday, exactly, Michael. Wednesday. Because here's what we found. You need to be scheduling them the day after, the second day after, and the third day after. Because if you go out even a week, the appointments start to drop off, not arithmetically, but exponentially. And we found with us that it works that way with advisors, too. It works that way with advisors. It works that way with clients. It works that way with anybody. And here's why. Have you ever been to the store? And I was talking to one of those gentlemen. I said, have you ever been to the store and you really, really wanted something? You saw something there and you said, oh, I really want it. He goes, yeah, it was a driver that I really wanted badly. And I said, yeah, I mean, it was the thing that you'd wanted all your life, and you were salivating. And I said, and you went home and didn't buy it. What happened 5 days later? And what do you think he told me, guys? What do you think he told me? After 5 days, what happened to his desire for that driver? Forgot about it. Yeah, exactly, Mickey. He just forgot. He said, oh, I'm driving far enough. I mean, what's it going to do? Add an extra yard on my drive? Whoop-de-doo. See, you need to get them scheduled as quickly. So I always, with my events, had the first, the second, and third days open, so that's where I booked all of my appointments after the event. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to always do. If you go past a week, you're going to have people dropping like flies. So any questions on that? Okay. So first, let's see. So here's how. Now, when you're at the event, though, there's some things you want to do. The most important thing you can do during the event is what do you think, guys? Oh, so Michael asked, how many people can you do a day? Well, Missy will validate this. I saw people at 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So how many is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. 7 people a day. I didn't even take lunch. Now, do you have to do that? No. But if you ask how many people can you see a day, I was seeing 7 people a day. And Missy, am I lying or am I telling the truth?
Nope. Some days you'd even see 8. So.
8, exactly. And if I didn't get lunch, I didn't worry about it. But when did I normally eat lunch?
If you had a cancellation.
Yep, that's when I would eat lunch. So how many can you do a day? Well, they're 1 hour long, and I had them 60 minutes, guys. Boom, boom, boom. And that was fantastic. For number one is it kept me to 60 minutes. I never went past 60 minutes. The other thing is every time I had somebody in or leaving the office, I had somebody what? Sitting in the lobby. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing because they think, wow, this guy's really busy. So guys, what's the most important thing you can do during the event? Okay, interact, Dale, I agree. Interact with attendees. I'm looking for a specific interaction, though. What can you do specifically to interact with them that's going to really nail the event? Appointment-wise, appointment sticking-wise, etc. Anybody? There's a specific interaction you could do. What's the most important word in the English language? What's the most important name? Get a response from attendees. It's important. Free? Nope, not free, Rick. What's the most important word in the English language? If you're walking through a crowd and somebody says this word, I don't care how many voices are talking. Their name, Dale. Exactly. Jim, you're right. Your name. Your name, your name, your name. So don't even put their last names on these tags if you don't want to. But their first name should be how big? Big enough that you can read it from the front of the room. That's how big these names should be. The more often you call them by name, the more likely they are going to make an appointment, and the more likely they are that they will. I'm going to adjust my microphone. I'm probably am I too loud, Missy?
No, actually, you sound okay.
Okay. Let me just make sure here. Oh, it should be okay. Okay. So the most important word is their name. So here's the thing. If I'm calling them by name, this is how it's going to work. First of all, how many people, if I sent them a questionnaire saying, would you like Social Security to send you an extra $500 a month? How many people, what percentage of people would say, yes, I want that? All of them? I would think. What do you think? How many people would say, oh, yes, 100% I agree, Mickey. And if I asked people, send up questionnaires, said, how many would you like to take your current investments, run them through some software, which would allow you to increase the income you can draw from them and decrease the risk of running out of money? How many people would want that? Virtually everybody, right? So if everybody would want those two things, the only reason they will not make an appointment at the event is why? Because they're afraid you're going to try to sell them something, right? And that's the reason they're not going to make an appointment. That's also the reason that the appointments won't stick, because they'll think, I want this information, but then when they start going home, they start thinking about it, they think, oh, gosh, what if he tries to sell me something? I don't want to go in for that, and they'll stop. So one of the most important things we want to do is make sure that they don't think these are going to be hard-selling tactics. So when we call people by name, what's the advantage of that? We go from being a salesman to what? When we start calling people familiarity, that's right. We turn into a friend. Because here's the thing. First of all, you greeted everybody, right, when they came in. Got on the, squatted down, talked to them, sat down with them, talked to them, everybody that came into the event. And then you start calling them by name during the event, and they're all participating, etc. By the end, they feel like you're what? You're halfway to being their friend. So call people by name during the event. Then you need to nail the Yale close. And what I mean by that is make sure they understand that it's impossible for them to make a sale at this, or for them to be presented with a some sort of selling situation at this first meeting. So when you go to the Yale close, you're going to see a little paragraph in there where we actually will do this. We'll say, and folks, just so you know, I don't want, after they've already agreed that yes, it would make sense so we've gone through the whole Yale close. Then we're going to have a little paragraph that says, and folks, just so you know, just so we know, there's no unrealistic expectations. I can't fix anything at this first meeting. So we can't come in and change your Social Security. We can't come in and change your investment. That's not what this is about. This is about finding out what's available. So I don't want you to come in with unrealistic expectations thinking that we're going to make all these changes and all that. Because you know what? That's not how it works. What did we just agree? That you should do this stuff or you should what? And you make them say, well, we should look at it. That's right. Just look at it. Because you know what I found about great ideas? Great ideas are only good the time you look at them, or are they also good the next morning when you wake up? Well, they're good the next morning when you wake up. Exactly. So I just want to make sure you don't come in and expect that there's going to be miracles performed at this first meeting. It's simply about what? And they'll say, getting more information. Exactly. So now, what are they 100% sure? Yeah, that's a revision, Mickey. So now, what are they 100% sure? By me saying, hey, I want to make sure there's no unrealistic expectations. We won't make any changes at this meeting. It's simply about getting this information. No pressure, Mickey, exactly right. There's no pressure because the reason they'll cancel their appointments is, number one, if they're scheduled too far out, they're going to what? Cancel because that excitement just falls right off the cliff. And then the second reason they cancel is because they're afraid you're going to try to sell them something at the first meeting, okay? Any questions on that, guys? Okay. So the other thing that we do is we make the client fill out the appointment card. There's been study after study after study in persuasion, in the science of persuasion, that having the client fill out the appointment card gives a 16% increase in the number of appointments that show up for their appointments. So don't fill it out for them. They need to fill it out. So here's how you should be doing it. And there's a script too in the appointment guide for what you do when you walk up and talk to them individually. So I'm going to basically say, so Jeff, what'd you get out of the? Did you find the event worthwhile? I mean, was it a good time?
Yeah, it was a really good time. I got a lot of good information.
Good. So some of the stuff was interesting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super. And so I was wondering, when we just talked about it here, and we said, whether this made sense, not to necessarily do it, but to at least look at it. Were you closer to the 9 or 10, saying that you should, at least look at it, maybe not do it, but look at it, or were you one of the people that said, this would be idiotic to look at?
No, we think it's important to look at.
Yeah. So, and then it was, so absolutely, because it'd be foolish not to at least look at it, right? So what would work best for you, tomorrow or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So what I've done there, guys, look at how I've done this. I've said, first of all, I've ended up with the idiotic. I never ask a question, especially an important question, that I don't know the answer to. How many people will say anything except what Jeff said when I do it this way? Were you closer to a 9 or 10, Jeff, when you said, when we looked at least looking at this, maybe not doing it, but at least looking at it, or did you think this would be idiotic? How many people would say, yeah, I was one of those guys thought it would be idiotic? How many people, guys, do you think will say that? Only real jerks. And you know what? That's, again, why you call them by their first names, because you don't want anybody to be a real jerk at this point. It'd be really uncomfortable, Jeff. Would you think it'd be uncomfortable to say anything but a 9 or 10 at that point?
No, it would be really uncomfortable to do that.
Yeah. So we ask it in that order. Were you closer to a 9 or 10? Well, not necessarily to do it, Jeff, but to at least look at it? Or were you closer to the, no, this would be idiotic to even look at? So what can they say there except what? Now, I don't want to do it this way. Hey, Jeff, were you one of the people who thought it'd be idiotic, or were you closer to the 9 or 10? They can say all sorts of things. They can say, well, I was closer to the 9 or 10, Mike, but, right now I'm real busy and I can't really make any appointments. So, it makes some sense, but I'll have to get back to you on that. They know where I'm going with that. Do I want them to go there? No. So I make sure I end up with the idiotic, so they are forced to say a 9 or 10. And when they say 9 or 10, so Jeff, are you closer to 9 or 10? Not necessarily to do it, but to at least look at it, or are you closer to this would be idiotic even to look at?
No, we think it's important. It's something you need to look at.
So at that point, I'm assuming that he's just given me a what? An okay for an appointment. So I just jump right in and say, no, absolutely, because it would be foolish to not at least look at it. Now I've just locked him in, right? Because now he has to admit that if he doesn't think it's a 9 or 10 or doesn't make an appointment, it would be foolish of him. Yeah, it'd be foolish not to at least look at it. So based on that, when would be better, tomorrow or the next day for us to get together for an hour or so, to at least take a look at it?
Wednesday would
See,
probably
he's
be
trapped. He's trapped, okay? Now what I'm going to do is going to say, great. So let's do this. We write down I'm going to hand him the card. I'm going to write down the appointment in the calendar. And then I'm going to hand him the letter, the handout that has the information of the stuff that he needs to bring along. Okay? So while he's filling out that card, again, because that gives us a 16% increase of people appointments holding, that he can bring home, I'm going to be filling out the appointment on the letter and the information on the letter. And remember, in the letter, it's saying what? And Missy, what do we officially call that letter that we hand out at the...
It's the handout letter, first appointment confirm handout letter.
So he's filling out the card, or she's filling out the card, and I'm filling out that handout letter. In that letter, it states all the different stuff they should bring. Now, guys, if we did not hand that letter to them at the event and we just mailed it to them, what do you think they're going to do when they see all those things they're supposed to bring? So let's see some answers to that. Because remember, we're asking them to bring everything, right? They're panic, Rick. You're exactly right. They're going to panic. So do we want them to panic? No. So what we do is when we hand them that handout letter right there when they're making the appointment, say, now here's a list of things that you could bring. Now again, don't turn the house upside down looking for this stuff. Bring what you can bring. The more information you bring, the better off we can help you. So just bring what you can, or you're comfortable bringing, and then just come in. But don't worry about if you can't get this whole list. So why do you think I've done that, guys? To make sure that they slow down or perhaps cancel. Mickey, exactly right. So what I want to make sure they understand is, hey, if they don't want to bring any of this stuff in, is that okay? Is that okay, guys? If they don't bring any of this stuff in, make it easy, Mickey. Exactly. Is it okay if they don't bring any of this stuff in? Yes, it is absolutely okay. In fact, Jeff and I love it when they don't bring their stuff in. Guess why we love it when they don't bring their stuff in? Anybody have a guess why Jeff and I love it when they don't bring their stuff in? Because guess what we find guys doing during this first meeting? Guess what the number one reason guys go past the 60 minutes? Yeah, less distraction, Rick. Why do people go past the 60 minutes in these first meetings? Because they spend a ton of time talking about what? Too much about the numbers, Mickey. Exactly right. The guys will spend tons of time talking about their investments. Is that what we're supposed to be doing at the first meeting? No. We're not going to be doing any planning or talking about anything, suggestions, whether things good or bad, or what they should be doing at that first meeting. It's simply us gathering information. So if they don't bring their statements, I'm just going to say, well, I'm not even going to get into that, but that's a whole different can of worms. But why do we ask them to bring anything? Because if we can get them to bring stuff, it'd be great. If they don't, that's okay too, though. Now, if they don't bring their stuff, we're simply going to ask them to make another appointment, bring their stuff in that we can make copies of it, or to send their stuff into us by FedEx envelope. And we'll give them the FedEx envelope. We actually give it to them and tell them that we'll just give all the originals back when they come for that next meeting. But let them know, if they don't give us this information, can we meet with them for a second meeting, guys? If we don't get the powers of attorney, if we don't get their medical powers of attorney, if we don't get all of this stuff, can we meet with them? No, Mickey, you're exactly right. Because what do we have for the disclosure meeting? Nada. Okay, so we have does that already clear on how we do? When we have them fill out the appointment card, we're filling out the letter, we give them the letter and say, hey, this is the stuff that if you can bring it, it'd be great. If you can't, well, that's okay too. I mean, don't turn the house around. It's just so let them know that it's not a deal breaker if they can't bring that stuff in. Okay. Then what we're going to do, or this is the card they're looking at. I want to make an point here. See this little thing? We've changed the card to highlight this in black because I think a lot of clients weren't seeing this. So this, please help me to help you by being part of the 94% of people that show up for their meeting. It saves us a ton of time. See that phrase, by being part of the 94% of the people that do show up for the meetings? They have found in study after study after study that when people see that the vast majority of people are complying, they will comply as well by 31%. So that also, the reason we put that in black is so that to make sure people see this black portion, that please help me to help you by being part of the 94% of people that show up for their meeting. We want them to see that because that also helps us lock down, and that's why we actually have highlighted that now. When you get your new appointment cards, when you ask for those, you'll see that on there as well. And then if you're, that's all you should do. And if you're still having problems, which I don't think you're going to have problems, if you call people by name, if you let people know that there's not going to be any selling going on at that first meeting, if you make sure people aren't getting freaked out by how much stuff they're going to bring in and let them know they can come in even if they don't have that stuff, and then make sure they see this card and fill out this card, I think your problems with people not showing up are going to go completely away. If they don't, we have the, for the people who are still having problems, what we do is we have them hire a high schooler or a retiree to give out pies or send out pies, or sorry, deliver pies to their house that same day. Now you want to use fruit pies so that you don't want to use cream pies because cream pies can melt, because if they're not there, you're still going to leave it there. And all you're going to do is thank them, remind them again when the card is. So why do we use pies? Well, because in America, what do we use for new neighbors? What do we use for giving people the message that we care about them and like them? What do we use? You know, we get a new neighbor. What has been historically? What do we do? We bake something and bring it over to that new neighbor. So what we do is we give them a pie. The pies are cheap. It doesn't cost that much to hire a high schooler. And then they just deliver these things. And here's the great thing about pies. Can they return them to you? See, if you just send out movie tickets or you send them out on some other little gift, they can just send them back, say thanks, but no thanks. But can they really give you back a pie? They can't. So that's the advantage. It's cheap, so it's cheap for you. It's but it still has a huge. So even though it doesn't cost them, it has a huge emotional value. It's something that people understand what that means, and it obligates them, and they can't return that item to you. I would not recommend that you do this unless you nail all the other things that we've just talked about, and you're still having cancellations. And Jeff, when people nail those other things, are we going to see a huge amount of problems with cancellations? Have we in the past?
No, we haven't.
Not if they're nailing those other things. So, does that make sense? Any questions on this before we move on? Oh, we have somebody say you lost the audio connection. Anybody else lose the audio connection? Or can
I think his went all together closed, so it looks like his go-to just closed down.
Okay, so everybody else is cool.
Yep.
Everybody else can hear me? Can I see your yeses? If you can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, so does any questions on this before we move on to what I actually wanted to cover today, which is extremely important and exciting. Yes, Rick, you have a question? Oh, no, you can hear me. Super. So this is one of the most exciting things that we do. This one thing can have a huge change on your business, and that is keeping their broker out of the picture. How many of you have had a situation where you've just closed a $325,000 case, paperwork signed, you've already spent the money in your head, and then what happens, guys? What happens? You get a message the next day that they're canceling, and why are they canceling? Because their broker somehow found out about it and changed their mind. Now, here's the thing. If we do a great job at the disclosure meeting, will that ever happen? But, Jeff, sometimes guys make mistakes at the disclosure meeting?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes that does happen, especially when the first 6 months or so that you're using the system. So you think you killed the broker, but instead you killed the investments. Or you did all sorts of things. You know, we don't know what happened. But this is to make sure that no matter what happens, that broker stays gone. Because the last thing you want is when you sold a $325 case for him to come in and squeal the deal. And guys, how honest are they when they squirrel the deal? Do they tell the truth to the client about what's happening? Or if you're changing from an IRA to an IRA, will they tell them there's huge tax ramifications? Will they do things like that, guys? Anybody? Do they lie to keep the account, guys? Anything to keep the deal. I agree, Mickey, because I've heard all sorts of bald-faced lies that they tell the client just to keep the deal. So we have to make sure they can't talk to the guy. So now that we sold it, we need to keep it sold. So what we're going to do is have a conversation with the client about what do you think, guys? Have a conversation with the client about what their broker's going to do. And then I'm going to have a conversation with the broker, either via phone or via letter. And if need be, I take the conversation right to the broker's compliance department because, guys, guess what a compliance department does not care about? What does the compliance department not care about? Anybody? There's only one thing a compliance department cares about, and what's that? I don't know what SOX is. The sale. Does the client or the compliance department does not care the least about it? The sale. What they're worried about is what? Getting into trouble. So this is what we're doing. Have a conversation with the client, have a conversation with the broker, and if need be, have a conversation with their compliance department. So first, let's talk about the conversation with the client. The conversation with the client can either be done the easy way or the hard way. So sometimes clients still are, if you haven't done a great job of killing the advisor, and they just, they realize they want to leave, but they don't necessarily hate their advisor. They want to do it the easy way, the polite way. They don't want to be mean about it. Okay, if you do a great job of the disclosure meeting, guess how much do they worry about their advisor's feelings if you do it the right way? None. So that's the hard way. So, but we're going to give them the option. So let's talk about the easy way. They still want to leave as friends, and so we're going to. That's we can live with that. But we're going to next time we do a disclosure meeting, we're going to make sure we do what? Better job. But if they want to leave as friends, we have a conversation with them, and we have a letter. So here's the letter we send to them, and here's the conversation we're going to have. So Jeff, I'm going to make you the client, okay?
Okay.
And guys, this is right on the site. So I'm going to read the script right on the site, and you see how it goes. So now that you've seen the plan this is at the third meeting, they've decided that they want to move forward and say, so now that you've seen the plan we put in place, and you know exactly how it worked for you, what would you like to do, Jeff?
Well, we want to go ahead and make the changes.
Yeah, and why? I'm going to make him sell it on me again.
Well, I mean, we're not happy that, we're just finding some of this stuff out, and we want to make sure that we get our problems fixed, our legal documents updated, we want our titling fixed, we want all that stuff fixed.
Yeah. So I agree. So one thing that we haven't really talked about at this point, though, is we'll have to start moving the money out of your other accounts, which is easy to do, and we do it all the time, and we're familiar with how to do it. But we can't take care of everything so that and we can take care of everything so you won't have to do anything beyond just signing a few papers. But as a courtesy, we'd probably start by sending a letter to your current advisor just to let them know, what'll be happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, you're making the changes. Why? I'm going to make them sell it on to me again, just because. How certain do we want these people that they're going to be moving? And do I want to tell them why they're moving, or do they need to have them tell me? So I'm going to make him tell me why we're moving again, so I won't waste the time with that. He's going to tell me and say, so great. So all my clients come to me from other brokers. And here's the letter that I normally have them sign, and we send it out to them. So I'm showing them this letter that you see on the screen right now. It just explains that you appreciate the time you spent working with you, and that you've decided to make some changes, and it lets them know that you've already discussed any tax ramifications, any surrender charges that would occur with the moving accounts. And again, one of the things that you're doing is moving from one IRA to another, right, Jeff?
Right.
So we discussed the fact that if you redeposit the money from one IRA into another IRA, how much tax is there?
Nothing.
Right. So do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay.
I think we're pretty clear on that.
Super. Do you have any questions on the surrender charges and what surrender charges you'll entail if you move these accounts?
No.
Okay. Do you have any questions about really anything that we've talked about doing?
No, I don't have any questions at this point.
Yeah. So why do I want to make sure this, guys? I have to make sure there's no questions. So how do you feel about the changes you're making?
Well, we feel good about it. We think we're doing the right thing.
And do you feel like you understand everything?
Yeah, we feel like we understand it.
Yeah, and that's just so important because, when we looked at what you were doing before, in hindsight, did you always know or understand what was going on?
No, and it turns out I guess we didn't.
Yeah, so finally, in the last paragraph, you see right here, we're just asking him to be prompt and professional, and if you should need anything, how does the letter look?
It looks fine. I mean, I think it's a good letter.
Yeah. So great. Then we'll just have you sign this, and then we'll mail it out so that you don't even have to worry about it. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Now, when he gets this, he's probably going to just wish you luck, right?
Well, I hope so, but, he'll probably be a little disappointed. We've been with him a long time.
Yeah. So we hope he does. I mean, even if he just wants to wish you luck, he may call, though, right?
Yeah, he probably will.
Yeah, and he'll probably ask why you're leaving, and just to make sure, that he didn't do anything wrong. And again, guys, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt at this point, okay? Yeah, I mean, just to make sure he's not doing you didn't do anything wrong or anything like that. And what will you tell him?
No, it's, we just want to do what's best for us, and we just think this is going to be better for us.
Yeah, and then naturally at that point, guess what he's going to ask? What will you be doing? Yeah.
Right.
So you have you ever played that game of the campfire when someone whispers something in your ear and then you whisper to the next guy and they just whisper to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy?
Yep, we played that.
And by the time it makes it all the way around to the last person, does it sound anything like what the first person whispered?
No, it doesn't.
No. And see, and that's part of the fun, right? That's why we play that game around the campfire, right?
Right.
But, he may ask you some pretty detailed questions about what you're doing and what you're moving to and how it works. And are you comfortable with everything we talked about so far that we're doing?
Yeah, we're comfortable with it, absolutely.
And do you have any questions about what we're doing?
No, I don't have any questions.
Yeah. But that said, I've been helping people with investments and answering questions, in investment detail for the last 13 years. So who would be the best person to answer not just basic questions, but detailed questions on what you're doing?
Well, you would be.
Yeah. Because, we do it, right?
Right.
So, but you could go ahead and answer his questions, but then he may have a follow-up question that you would have to relay to me, and then I'd have to answer the question, and you have to relay it back to him, and we're back to playing that campfire game, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah. And, and really, is that any fun to be doing that middleman thing?
No, not really.
Right. So it's not even something you want to begin doing. So just like the campfire game, do things get lost in translation?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Let me do this. Let me give you one of my cards, and when you get home, I want you to tape that to the phone, Jeff. So you've already got one of my other cards. I'm going to give you another one here. Just tape it by the phone. That way, when he calls, you can just have him call me with his questions. Because all he wants is answers, right?
Right.
And do you want to have to relay them and be the middle person?
No, not really.
Yeah, so when he calls, just tell him, hey, we're making the move because we think it's better for us. If you have any questions, just call Mike. Here's the number, and he promised that he will take time to answer all your questions, and that way he can get all of his questions answered quickly, and you don't have to be in the middle. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, I'm going to stop here with the script for a second. Guys, at this point, what do you think the client's thinking? I'll tell you, I've been through this a gazillion times, and Jeff, vicariously, we've been through it even a double gazillion times for all of our guys. What do you think the client's thinking at this point when I suggested they take my card, tape it to the phone, and have the guy call me if they have any questions? Come on, let's get an answer here, guys. Woo! That's right, Mickey. They say, woo! I don't have to be the bad guy. I don't have to be confrontational. Because remember, guys, they don't want to be confrontational. They're saying, wow, Mike's letting me off the hook. And I've heard it over and over and over. They'll say, you'll do that? You do that? You do that? And guys, would I do that? Hell yeah! Hell yeah, that's what I want to happen. But they don't look at it as a bad thing. They look at it as, you'd really do that for me? They are relieved. So I'm going to say now, so I'll jump back into the script here. Well, before I go there, guys, I always get the question, what do you do if he calls? Guess what I do if he calls? I've had that happen maybe 2 or 3 times. And he says, I'm the, and he jumps in, he goes, whatever. Guess what I start doing? I say, well, I'm wondering, when you put the survivor's guide, where did you place that? I just start walking down the list. And after I get about to 3 different issues that he didn't do, guess what he's done? Guess what he does? I'm going to go through the survivor's guide. I'm trying to get my hands around why you didn't do survivor's guide with him. I'm trying to get my hands around why you didn't look at the power of attorney and it was all screwed up. I'm trying to get my hands around why you didn't electronically file their legal documents. By the 3rd time, guess what they do? They hang up all pissed off. He knows he's done. Exactly right, Mickey. They hang up. They don't hang up nicely, but they hang up and they're gone for how long? Forever. So now I'm going to jump back into the conversation when Jeff says, you'd really do that? Yeah, I'd do that for you. I'd do that for you. And I'd say, good, because here's the thing. If all he wants is the answers to his questions, then will he be satisfied with that?
Should be.
Yeah. So if he isn't satisfied with that and doesn't want to talk to me, does he really care about getting his questions answered?
No, probably not.
If he doesn't really want to talk to me to get his questions answered, then what's he really worried about?
He probably just doesn't want us to leave.
Exactly, saving the account, right? And why does he not want to, or why does he want to save the account so bad?
Well, because he makes money off of it.
Right, he does, right? So if he's really worried about you and what you're doing, or is he really worried about himself if he doesn't want to talk to me about the questions, but instead wants to keep you on the phone?
He's worried about himself more than anybody.
Yeah. Let's say that you decided to change doctors. You just made a decision to change because, there's a new doctor closer to your house. He's more convenient. If you told your original doctor that you were changing doctors, he might ask you why, right?
Right.
And if you told him, you just wanted someone closer to home, and is he going to really have a problem with that?
No, I don't think so.
No, he might tell you that he's disappointed and that if he ever wanted to come back, his door's always open, right?
Right.
But he's going to throw some kind of tantrum and beg you to stay and tell you how you're being an idiot and this doctor's trying to screw you. Would he do that?
No, he wouldn't do that.
That'd be a little what?
That'd be weird.
That'd be weird, wouldn't it? It'd be weird because does any doctor ever do that, throw tantrums or beg their patients to stay?
No, they don't do that.
It'd be really weird if you ran across one that did, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be strange.
Yeah, because a doctor cares about you, but is he really going to lose sleep if you decide to go to another doctor?
No.
If he did throw a tantrum and beg you to stay, you'd start to wonder what?
Why is he so upset?
Yeah, why is he so upset? And most of the time your broker is just going to wish you luck and tell you that the door's always open if you're ever going to come back. But occasionally we'll get a broker that throws a tantrum and begs you to stay. And just like a doctor, if they do that, you start to wonder what?
Yeah, why are they so upset, or why are they making such a big deal out of it?
Yeah, in the case of the broker, why is he doing that?
Well, he doesn't want to lose the account. He doesn't want to lose the money he makes off it.
Exactly. And in a strange way, if it happens, I can always tell my clients it's a good thing that happened. Because now what do they know absolutely for sure about that guy?
Well, that he doesn't really care about us.
Yeah. And isn't it better that you know that?
Yeah, it's better that you find out.
Yeah, because, what can you do without any regret whatsoever then?
Well, then you can just move on and do what you need to do.
And so again, just take my card by the phone if he calls. Just to wish you luck, let him know that, hey, the door's open, and he lets you know the door's open. Say, hey, that's great. But if he calls and starts to ask a lot of questions, what are you going to tell him?
Just to call you.
So guys, why am I going over this over and over and over? Because I want this little movie to play in their heads so much that how good are they with this script when the guy does call? I want them to instantly know here's Mike's number. Call him. Here's my number. I want them to do instant. I don't want them to even have to think about it. I want that to be instant. And I've replayed this so that if he starts to argue with them, they know for sure what, because they've already played it in their head. They've already answered this question 4 or 5 times in their head that if he starts to argue, he's in it because he really cares about him, he's going to lose sleep, or he's in it so he can save the account. I do this over and over so that when he calls, that guy is so screwed. That guy is so screwed. Because he cares about who? You or himself, Jeff?
He cares about himself.
Yeah. But at least you know, and it just confirms that you made the right decision to move on. And, at that point, the best thing to do is just politely, but firmly, tell him you've made your decision, and you'd appreciate if he would respect that decision, and just to call me if he continues to have questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when that happens, guess how many phone calls I get from the broker?
Probably not very many.
Virtually none, because they've already showed their hand. They're only looking out for one person, and who was that?
Themselves.
Right. So just to keep this card by the phone in case he calls, and then you confirm to me if there's any questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So guys, I know it seems like why do you think I'm beating a dead horse here? Why do you think I have Jeff tell me 15 times that if he calls and tries to save the account, that he's only trying to help himself? Why do you think I have Jeff tell me that 15 times? So Jim Robinson says, can you add language in the letter not to call client but to call broker? Let's see. Can you add the language in the letter not to call? Yeah, you could do that. Absolutely. That'd be a great idea. That'd be a great idea. So he's asking, can you add language in the letter not to call the client but just to call the broker? You'll see in the next letter, though, if it's the hard way, we actually not only tell them not to call the broker, but we're going to quote the law that if they call the broker, they're breaking the law, several different laws. So you'll see that here in just a second. But, yeah, I would see no problem with doing that. So that was the easy way, guys. Any questions on the easy way and the value of doing this? First of all, guys, can you see the value of having this conversation with your client? How many of you have done this up to this point, having this kind of conversation with your client? Do you see how this could save deals? Now, let's talk about the hard way. They want to leave now. So we're going to talk about the conversation with the clients, the conversation with the broker, and the letter. So when they want to leave now, we're going to talk about, we're going to actually, let's see here. This is how I would deal with, well, I'm not going to go through the letters. It'll get too confusing. But the harsh way is if I'm going to get all confused here. So the other way is that I'm going to talk to them about if they want to leave their broker now, or if they want to do it with a 1035 exchange. Because, guys, where is most of their money held, guys? What kind of accounts are most of their money, the big money? Where's most of the kind of account is most of their big money held? What kind of account? IRAs, right, Mickey? Most of the big money is in retirement accounts, right? So with retirement accounts, you can move that with what? With what? With just paperwork, right? 1035 exchanges or, just paperwork transfers. But if we do that, how long, guys, does it normally take to do that? How long does it normally take to do that, guys? Weeks, exactly. And what can happen in those weeks, Mickey? What can happen in those weeks? They can change their mind. Lots of things can happen in those weeks. They can change their mind. Because how cooperative is that other company going to be in getting that transfer? Or do they fiddle with the paperwork? And do they change the forms? And does the conservation department then call the client? Is the broker still, even though we've done all these conversations, will he still get in there and try to change? Is there a chance that they may talk to their brother-in-law, their neighbor? Is there a chance that they may talk to their son, who will then convince them that what? They should do it, or they should move, or change their mind? Change their mind. So if I do it that way, it could take weeks, and there's a chance that it may change their mind. But instead, what if we moved it right now? That would eliminate all those problems. Can you move IRAs right now without paperwork? Can you have them withdraw all their money right now, guys? Can you have them withdraw all their money, give it to you, and you just put it into another IRA? Can you do that without any tax ramifications? See some answers on that. Mickey, yes, because there's a rule that says that everybody's saying yes. So what's the rule, guys? As long as they get it back in by how many days? How many days, guys? 60 days, okay. So if they give us the money, get it back in 60 days, we're cool. There's no tax ramifications, right? So here's the conversation I'm going to have with Jeff, okay? So, Jeff, So now that you've seen the plan that you like, and what would you like to do?
Well, we want to go ahead and move forward. We want to do it.
And again, just why does this make sense for you?
Well, it takes care of a lot of problems that we have, and we're just finding out that there are too many things that were left undone. So we just want to get it all fixed and get everything moved over.
Makes sense. I mean, I agree. So one thing we haven't really talked about at this point is that we can start moving the money out of the accounts, which is easy. We do it all the time and very familiar with it. But there's a couple of ways we can do that. One is we can go ahead and ask your current advisor to transfer the money from where it is now to this new account, and that'll take about 6 to 8 weeks for that transfer to be completed. So, and the reason it takes so long is this. I mean, you are moving whose money?
Well, moving my money, our money.
Right. I mean, you're just moving the money from one account to another account because why? It's going to be better for you, right?
It makes more sense. We just like the plan better.
Yes. But here's what happens, Jeff. I know this is your money. You know this is your money. It's been your money for years. But sometimes the company that thinks that because they control the account, because they've had the money for so long, they lose track that it's your money. And guess whose money they start to think it is?
Probably start looking at it as their money.
And they view it as you're taking it away from them. Is that really the case?
No, that's my money.
Exactly. But because they look at it as their money, that you're taking it from them, they sometimes start to play games and drag their feet and make it difficult. For example, let's say things like, well, you filled out your crush form, the green form, but we've changed the color in the last few weeks, and now we need the peach-colored form. We need to send you back, we need to have you send that back in. Or they say, you signed in blue ink, we actually need it signed in black ink. They start to say things like that. I've seen this, Jeff. The exact same form, exact same verbiage, looks exactly the same, but it's on a different color, and they'll insist that you send a different color form in there. I mean, I've seen things like that. And do you really think it matters what color of paper the form is or what color ink you sign with?
No, it doesn't matter.
No, it does. So why are they doing that?
Oh, they're just trying to make it hard to move.
Yeah, they're trying to keep the money, right?
Right.
And why do they want to keep it so bad?
Well, because they get paid on it.
Yep, they get paid on it. So do they care more about you and what you want or more about what they want?
No, they're looking out for themselves.
And I guess it's good that you find that out so that you can move on. But again, there are a couple of ways you can move on. Like I said, one is you can transfer the funds from where you have them now to a new account, and it'll take 6 to 8 weeks, and just because of the games they play. And hey, you know what? We may have to come to you a couple of times to re-sign paperwork because they've quote-unquote lost the original paperwork, or they need to have something re-signed in a different colored ink. And we've done that many times before, so we're very familiar with how to handle it and how to get your funds transferred successfully. So don't worry about that. We're experts at playing the little games, and we're perfectly capable and comfortable with moving it that way. It'll just take 6 to 8 weeks. Or if you want, though, we can give them a call right now and get it moved today. Whichever you prefer is fine.
Well, if we could
So
do
guys,
it today.
at this point, how many people will say they'll move? Yeah, most people say, I want to move right now. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and give them a call and take care of it right now then.
Okay.
That's what they'll say, okay? And then I'll say, well, not a problem. We'll go ahead and give them a call right now. And now that when we do that, they'll probably ask you a few questions. First, they'll ask you a couple of questions to verify that, you're the decision maker in the account, which is only fair, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it's perfect. Normally, I ask questions like that. So they may ask a couple of questions like, are you aware of the taxes that may be due when you move your account? Now we're moving from one IRA to another IRA, which is easy, and the IRS says that if you want to move from one IRA to another account, an IRA account, you can withdraw the money from the original IRA, and as long as you redeposit that money into another account within 60 days, there's no tax. Here, let me grab my tax facts, and guys, you need to buy the book Tax Facts or have some legalese-looking document that will show them that it's completely legal to move from one IRA to another IRA with no taxes within 60 days. Okay, so I'll pull out my tax facts and I'll say and show you where it says that. See right here, Jeff, where it says that you can take the money out, and as long as you put it back into another IRA within 60 days, there's no tax. Do you see that?
Yep, I see that.
Yep. So will there be any taxes owed on this account as long as we get it redeposited within 60 days?
No.
So do you have any questions on that?
No, not at this time.
And they may also ask you about surrender charges. If you move this account, there may be some surrender charges. Do you have any questions on what we covered about with your surrender charges?
No.
And in this case, do you even have any surrender charges?
No, we don't.
No. So do you have any questions on the surrender charge? No. Do you have any questions about any of this, really?
No, we don't.
No. So do you think we've covered all of your questions?
Yeah, I think we have.
And you're comfortable with what we're doing?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
Super. And why did we decide to move this account again? Guys, I'm just going to make him be kind of clear or crystal clear why we're doing this. Crystal. So again, why did you decide to move this account to begin with?
Well, we just want everything taken care of, the stuff that wasn't getting, that was overlooked, and we just think it's going to be better for us.
Great. Now remember, I'll be right here to help you answer any of the questions that may come up. But they primarily want to talk to you to verify that the account holder, that you're the account holders, and make sure that you understand that, you know, you're closing the account. And do you have any questions before we? So, do you have any questions before we call them, Jeff?
No, I don't.
Okay, super. So then let's give the custodian a call to liquidate the account. That way, you'll have the check within 3 to 6 days that we can redeposit into another IRA versus waiting 6 to 8 weeks. Now, remember, we said that they cared more about who, you or themselves.
Oh, they care more about themselves.
Yeah, that's why they would try to make the transfer so difficult if you decide to try to do everything through the mail. You know, and that's their mindset. So what do you think they might do when we call them up?
They might make it a little tough.
Yeah, they could try to delay us, right?
Right.
So they might claim that they can't help us and that you'll have to call the broker or whoever handles the account. And if that happens, it's okay. We can all call your broker and talk to him. But again, why are they passing us around like that?
To make it hard to move.
Yeah. Yep, to try to slow us up. So it's so that they can do what with your money?
So they can keep it.
Yeah. And again, why are they so anxious to keep the account?
Well, because they make money off of it.
Yeah. So just be prepared that they may want to push really hard for you to stay with them. And if they push, let's just tell them, just have them have their say, okay?
Okay.
And after they've had their say, just politely but firmly tell them that you'd like to still liquidate the account. And do they have any questions? Do you have any questions up to this point?
No, I don't have any questions.
So let's give them a call. So then we're going to bypass the broker and just call, because normally, guys, what are brokers required to do when they're not in the office? What's on their phone message? What's on their phone message, guys? Please what? Don't leave a message. Why, Mickey? Don't leave a trade. In fact, then they give what? What do they give when they say don't leave a trade? Don't leave any transactions, then they leave information with the 800 number and who to call. So guess what we're going to do? Are we going to call the broker, or are we going to go right to that transaction desk? And it's easy to find that number, guys. You just Google they're with Edward E. Jones, or whoever they're with. You just Google that, look for who you call to make transactions, and then you call that person. Okay? So here's the only trick when you call that person. As soon as you call up, the first thing out of your mouth are these words. Hi, this is Mike. I'm sitting here with some clients of yours, and you're on a recorded line. And guys, all you're going to do is, you have to do this on speakerphone, right? Because the clients need to hear what's going on with the whole conversation. So what you're going to do is put them on speakerphone, use your digital recorder that we sent you to record your meetings with, turn that on, and then everybody's going to be talking so you can hear what the guy, the people at the other company saying, that your clients can hear, everybody can hear each other. So you're going to say, hi, this is Mike. I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Smith and some clients of yours, and we're on a recorded line. When you say we're on a recorded line, what do you think just happens to this whole conversation, guys? It becomes more civil or less civil? More civil. You're right, Mickey. Because what will that person on the other side of the line not try to do? Play games. And, guys, what is the law for you registered reps out there? What is the law? When I call that number and I ask for a transaction to be made, that transaction had better what? Do it. If they don't do it, what can happen, guys? If I ask them to transfer or to send me a check, the market falls 30% the next day, and they did not do that, what will happen? They'll be in big trouble. So when we call, we're going to be very nice. Tell them we're on a recorded line. Then they're going to say, this is Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, would you introduce yourself? And they do. So Mr. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, would you tell this nice gentleman here what you'd like to do? And they'll say, we'd like to liquidate this IRA account. And they're going to say, well, you know, it's going to cause tax ramifications. And the client's going to say, what? Yeah, we got that handled. We know that. So they're going to walk through this whole thing. If the people there try to push back to the broker, Again, we've already warned the clients they might do that, and you just smile at them and kind of wink like, we knew they were going to do this, didn't we? Because what's the client convinced at this point when the people there at their transaction office tries to delay this and whatever else? What is the client thinking? They're doing it why? To keep their money. That's why they think they're doing it. So we've already had that. That's why I beat it like a dead horse, because I know they're going to do this. So if they already know what the conversation, they kind of start to laugh themselves. They're not nervous anymore. They're saying, this is just like Mike said it was going to go. They're saying just like Mike said it was going to say. These people, they just want my money. It actually goes extremely well. If the people there refuse to do the transaction for you, I can't do this, you have to talk to your broker, then you say, you know what, guess what department you asked to be connected to then, guys? If that person refuses to do the trade as they've just asked, compliance department, Mickey, exactly right. When you ask to talk to the compliance department, guess what is magically going to happen? Do you think you're ever going to make it to the compliance department? What's going to magically happen? It gets done. Exactly right. So, guys, these scripts are right on the website, so you can actually be familiar with them. It's not necessary that you memorize these, but it's necessary that you have a really good feeling for these so that the client knows what's going to happen. You have to make sure the client is aware what's going to happen, whether they do it the nice way or they do it the direct way like we're doing it right now. Because if the client knows what's going to happen, they're not going to be worried. So if they're doing it the nice way, what's the most essential thing that they need to leave with, guys? If they're doing it the nice way and they don't want to move the money right now or whatever it may be, we have to make sure that they are 100% sure that what? If the guy calls, that guy should talk to who? You. So you make sure that the thing they leave with is, if the guy calls, here's the card, have them call you, and they love that. But most often, they're going to want to move the money right now. And what's the most important phrase, guys, that you'll say when you call that entity? What's the most important phrase you'll say when you call that entity, their broker transaction line? You're on a recorded call, exactly right. Recorded line. Because at that point, everything becomes civil. They can't pull any types of tricks. They can't say there's going to be tax ramifications when they're not tax ramifications, or surrender charges when they're not going to be surrender charges. They can't lie because you have it right there in the recorded line. And do you understand the importance of making sure that the clients are aware of how the conversation is going to go before they have the conversation? It removes that stress during the call, because they're like, oh, yeah, this is happening just like Mike said it was going to happen. Oh, they're saying the things that Mike said they're going to say. It turns from being a nervous thing into a hilarious thing. Clients will actually laugh because they're like, Jesus, Mike said this is going to happen, and it happened just like he's saying. They're saying the exact thing Mike said was going to happen. They get giddy, and they're even more convinced that they're doing the right thing. So does that make sense, guys? So all of these are online. Then we have some additional letters that that you can use. This one is being sent to the when you call the branch when you call the transaction line to transfer the money, the next thing that goes is this letter right here, and it's being sent to the broker, to their broker, and it says, I'm moving my securities account to blank, and as per the attached transfer, I guess you get rid of the transfer request. But you're going to let them know that in June 1995, NASD ruling, this still works even though it's now a FINRA regulation, adopted a cold call rule, meaning that they cannot call you. I want you to put me on my do not call list. You cannot call me. So this is the letter that you would then send to the broker saying, do not call me. If you call me, you're breaking FINRA law. You're breaking FTC law. Does that make sense?
And that's the ACAT letter, Mike, so that's why that
I'm
says
sorry.
transfer in there if you're going to do
Okay,
an
so-
ACAT. Yep,
Okay, if you're going to do an ACAT. But you can also modify this just straight to take off that first paragraph
correct.
and send right to the broker. Okay? So any questions on this, guys? Guys, do you see the power of having these conversations after you've sold the deal? Let me see some yeses or nos. Do you see the power of having these conversations after you've done the deal? How often do you think the deal is going to get squirreled? Some people want to know where these docs are. Do you know where it is, Missy?
Yep, it's underneath the implementation meeting, the bye-bye broker section. And then also another question came in, Mike. Mickey had actually asked it, I believe, as far as, isn't it better to just have the old insurance company write the check to the new insurance carrier for the benefit of the client and then mail the check to the client, but then that way that avoids any tax questions?
Yeah, you could do that. But you know what? You could do logistically. I mean, that's a great idea. The thing I'm trying to convince you here is what? The important thing that you're drawing from this last 60 minutes conversation is what? Not knowing this has cost me a lot of money, Rick says. To get it done now, bypassing the broker, it's to lock that broker out. Now, so if you've done a great job at that first or at the disclosure meeting, you've locked the broker out, but what does this do? This throws away the key. So you've already locked the broker out. This throws away the key. You won't lose any deals. And there's nothing, guys, of all the bad days I've had in this business, I'll guarantee you in the top 10, 9 of the 10 were deals that I closed that got squirreled by their current broker. There's nothing like selling a $300,000 deal or a $400,000 deal only to find out you have that message on your machine the next day saying they've changed their mind. And the reason they change their mind, guys, is almost always because that other broker got back involved. And when it turns into a push me, pull you with that other broker, who's going to win 9 times out of 10? They are. Why? Because possession is 9/10 of the law, and it's easier for the client to do what? Nothing. So you're going to stay with that guy. You do not want to get into a situation. Do you see how this eliminates that? So, was this a good call, guys? And sorry I kind of went through it too fast here the last because we spent a lot of time, but the scripts are all online. You can find them all there and use them to your heart's content. Again, these do not need to be memorized, but you have to understand and use the conversation flow the way we're going there. So only 2 people found it useful. Guys, please, I'd like to know, because I don't want to be having these calls if I don't think things are being covered that you guys want to hear. Are things like this helpful to you guys? So Mickey and Michael said yes. Are other people? Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, super, guys. Any other questions before I let you go? Okay, then you have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, guys.